Welcome to another edition of Cybersecurity Divas Leadership Moments with Lyndrel Downs. Today's edition is brought to you by Fortify Experts, a cybersecurity search and consulting firm that helps companies build high-performing security and risk teams. Now here's Lynn.
Hello, everybody. This is Lyndrel Downs from Cybersecurity DIVAS. I work for Fortify Experts. I have Katalina Reynolds on the line here, and we're getting ready to interview her. Hello, Katalina. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, Lyndrel. Thanks so much for having me today. My name is Katalina Reynolds. I am the Senior Director of Governance and Security Risk over at Equifax.
Great. Well, let's start off with this. How long have you been working in technology?
I guess altogether around 15 years now. I started in business continuity in around 2006, 7. And that was really my first footing into technology proper, working on business recovery in London in a bank, in State Street Bank, and working on business recovery tests for a European headquarters. So twice a year we would have recovery exercises where the whole of the London office would fail over and we would run those tests. Mm-hmm. So that was my first experience in the IT world. And then from there, I moved on in business continuity and information security. But that was where my career really first started, in the security and IT world.
Did you originally go out, coming out of college, going into technology, or how did you
No.
technology?
My major was film studies and my minor was art history. So naturally, I ended up working in a credit bureau. But no, I kind of fell into it by accident. When I finished my degree, there was a recession on and I needed a job. And I just kind of ended up working at State Street, and just really by a series of happy coincidences and networking and just being interested in how the bank worked and really just having a passion for the process and technology. I was offered a position on the business continuity team, and the leader of that team was willing to teach me the trade and what he knew. I think thanks to the fact that I was just interested and passionate. And that was how I started up. And then it was just a case of studying for certs and really just learning on the job, learning as much as I could, being the person to always ask questions and not really being scared about asking what I felt maybe were basic questions or obvious questions, because I was aware that I just didn't know a whole lot. I guess, I am quite happy to always say, hey, I've got maybe was a stupid question, but, I want to ask it anyway. Uh-huh. And that was how I started off. I also was very lucky in as much as I'm really good at bugging people. So I can be really annoying. So I'd go to the application recovery teams and I'd sit with them and I'd say, are you busy? And they'd say, yes. Okay. And I'd just sit there and I'd say, okay, well, I'll just wait till you're not busy. And they'd be like, oh my God, you're so annoying. All right, what do you want? And I'd say, I need to understand how this works. How does this talk to this? What does this do here? Why is this here? Why is this important?
Right.
Until somebody would sit and explain it to me, because there are so many things that I think as women we're afraid to ask about because we don't want to look stupid.
Right.
And there's always that person who's prepared to patronize us and roll their eyes at us. And I didn't really care if they rolled their eyes at me because I didn't know, So roll your eyes. That's fine. I'm going to keep asking you and I'm going to keep annoying you until you tell me.
Right.
I developed quite a thick skin. I think previous to that, I'd done a lot of work as a temp. So in the UK, you can do temp work where you fill in as a secretary or as a receptionist or whatever, as an admin. And you go to places for 2 weeks where you fill in on while other people are on vacation.
Right.
And a lot of that had been in trading houses and on trading floors. So it's a very macho environment and people are rude. They're rude and they're mean and they're aggressive. And I just learned to just ignore it and kind of have fun with it.
Right.
And so it got to the stage that by the time I went into an IT environment, I was a bit just like,
Right.
yeah, okay.
Right. That makes sense. Have mentors played a big part in your career and where you are today?
Yeah. Yes, they have. I've been lucky. I had a couple of really, really important people, I think, who helped. One was a manager that I had at Standard Bank, Charles Lindsley, who was and is an amazing person, somebody who I could go to for leadership advice, for career advice, for technical savvy. And he was always very honest and upfront. He was very good at, even when it was negative feedback, finding a way to deliver it so that it wasn't a punch in the gut, but, you know, something that you could take and use. And in turn, you know, it's helped me then when I've been mentoring people to use that technique when I've tried to help people where, you know, they've been going through a situation and I've needed to deliver negative feedback to try and be a bit more gentle in the way that I've delivered that to them. So Charles was huge in my development, I think, and in getting me to believe in myself. You know, I owe him a huge amount. And my mum.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
She's a scientist. She's not in this field, but she's my kind of moral barometer. So I run a lot of things past her.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah, you already said who your greatest mentor is. I'm going to put that as your mother. So other than your mother, who has been your greatest mentor?
I think I would probably say it would be a toss-up between my current manager, who is extremely professional and has the ability to be a very high achiever, but be completely apolitical in the way that she maneuvers and achieves what she needs to get done. And I think that's a very rare skill.
Right.
Not many people manage to kind of negotiate senior management without taking a side. But she is extremely good at it, and she focuses entirely on what's best for the process and what's best for the team. Without ever aligning herself to a particular person. And because of that, she's very well respected, and she is people trust her because they know that she's not doing anything with a secondary objective. And so it makes her neutral, and she tends to be well respected because of that.
Okay.
I think the other person would be, she probably has no idea, is a woman I worked with but not for, at State Street, a lady called Martha Whitman. She's a senior vice president. She's still there at State Street. And she had a very high pressure role. She had a large family. Her husband was also a senior vice president. And this is probably 20 years ago. And I remember saying to her one day, you know, Martha, it's incredible. You know, you juggle such a high pressure job and you've got a big family. And she said, yeah, but my husband and I agreed a long time ago that we're going to take it in turns. So one week he'll work late and the following week I'll work late because one of us needs to be home for the children.
Right.
And she was so matter of fact about it that it was just like, and it's not always going to be me. Okay. Just FYI. And it was like, it wasn't even up for discussion. And it was such a refreshing attitude to see from somebody that early on in the game.
Right.
And in some ways it saddens me that I still go to conferences and I still hear all women panels being asked about work-life balance when 20 years ago, Martha had it down pat.
Right.
You know, like, sorry, is this a conversation that we need to have? I don't think so, because these children are not 100% mine. They're 50% somebody else's. And, you know, this is not up for negotiation.
Yeah.
So she was, again, very well respected, very, very good at her job. And just somebody who I enjoyed watching maneuver in the business world as a consummate professional. She was an amazing lady and somebody who I liked very much as a business professional.
All right. I like that. What is your favorite podcast?
I can't name just one. That would be rude. I'm a podcast addict. I listen to podcasts all day long. Oh dear. And the worst thing is, like, I'm a true crime junkie. So let me see. On the business side, I really like the Cyberwire, and I do listen to that. This is where I'm trying to sound intellectual. And I listen to the Times Daily and the Guardian Daily, which are British news podcasts. But I do also listen to, God,
That's okay.
trashy podcasts. One is called True Crime Obsessed, which is a comedy podcast, and another one called Adrift, which is for people who are socially awkward.
Okay.
And actually, I have to give a plug to Urban Girl podcasts.
Urban
They're
Girl.
also extremely good. Yes.
Okay. It sounds like something I need to listen to.
Yeah. Nicole Dove.
I'm
Excellent.
actually more of a TV binge watcher. So if you had the last show you binge watched on TV.
I think binge watched was probably the last series of Ozarks. I don't watch a lot of TV.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Mine was Criminal Minds. I love crime shows. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite. Okay. What has been the greatest challenge in getting to the level you are now in your career?
God, I hate to say it, but I think over the last few years, it really has just been the glass ceiling. It's been glass ceiling and glass walls, I think. And I was kind of surprised because when I moved to the US, I assumed that it wouldn't be so prevalent here.
Yeah.
I moved here from Latin America, and I assumed that Latin America would be more sexist, and I was wrong.
Really?
Yeah. I've just seen and heard things since I moved to the US I've never heard anywhere else. And I'm a bit like, somebody just say that? I can't believe it.
Yeah.
You know, I find it disappointing more than anything, and kind of still being asked, you know, what my husband thinks about my job and stuff like that. And like, why do you ask me what I think of his job? No, you wouldn't. So
I get it.
That's been my biggest challenge.
Okay. Well, that takes us one other place. How have you been able to reach the level in your career in such a male-dominant world?
I think mostly by just ignoring a lot of the BS and pretending it doesn't exist. You know, my mum always says an insult isn't an insult until you acknowledge it. So
Right.
a lot of the time when people kind of make assumptions or make comments, I've tried to just pretend like I have no idea what they're talking about and
Right.
keep moving forward. In certain situations, there's always a little bit, in any kind of competitive environment, there are always going to be people who try and test your boundaries and they want to see how much you really want something, right?
Right.
So to an extent, I expect it. And I think people will use whatever's in their arsenal to try and get to you, right? So they're going to throw whatever they can at you. You know, if it's that you're female, then they're going to try and have a dig at you because you're a female.
Right.
But I think the difference is, like when I worked on the trading floors and stuff like that, it would start off with those kind of comments, but as soon as you proved yourself,
Right.
that would stop. And what I've seen here is it doesn't really matter when you prove yourself, that still continues.
Right.
And you can prove yourself as much as you want to, because 3 years later, they're still going to be saying, yeah, I know, but you see, that's what happens when you put a woman in charge. And that's what I find disappointing. But generally, I think you just have to keep your eyes on the prize and keep going. If you listen to your detractors, you're just going to give up.
Yeah, I do understand that. If you had to any kind of advice to give a young diva, a young woman, what advice would you give them to pursue information security as their career path?
Don't feel like you have to be a technology whiz kid to have a career in cybersecurity. There are lots of different paths and disciplines within that field that you can be successful in.
It's a big world out there. We're coming to the end of this. What is your biggest concern about the current state and in preventing the threats that are going on right now? Especially being at Equifax, you know, I know it's a lot of stuff going on. People try to probably hack that all the time.
Yeah. I think there's always a balance, isn't there? Because no matter what you come up with as a defense, you've always got an army of state-sponsored and very well-paid hackers and, you know, people ready to breach the defenses that you put up, right? So, but every product that you bring out or every product that's brought out as a defense, you're going to have people who find a way to get around it.
Okay.
So I think keeping up with your threats is always going to be a challenge. To me, the fundamental thing that we have to do as a security team in Equifax is recognize, I think we've already done that, but the job that we do is extremely delicate. We have the honor of being the data guardians of people's private data.
Right.
And that's something you don't take lightly. That should always be at the forefront of your mind when you're doing your job. And so those are the things that should keep you up at night when you're working in security in any big organization. So yeah, when it comes to the threat horizon, those are the things that maybe give me pause when I hear about, identity theft and those kind of things, especially over the last few months with the coronavirus and spike in identity theft, the spikes in phishing and vishing and that kind of thing due to identity theft. And it compounds an already difficult situation for a lot of people.
Right.
So we have to be extra vigilant. So,
Okay.
It behooves us to be.
Hey, I understand. What is the best book you read lately?
Oh, How Not to Diet.
Okay.
Michael Greger.
All right.
There you go. Dr. Michael Greger.
All
How
right.
Not to Diet. Go plant-based, people.
I hear you. All right. This is my last question. Okay. So where do you see the biggest opportunity to improve in security?
Employ more women. It's
There
so
you
obvious.
Okay. All right. I like that, Katarina. It's been great talking to you today and being a part of the Cybersecurity Divas team and being the diva you are. Okay.
Gillian.
And you have a blessed day. Okay. All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great talking to you.
Same here.